Where's the golden one?
Where is he, Carmo?
We acknowledge him anyway.
I do not acknowledge him.
Welcome to the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show. I'm the big beefy boy, Shaz Beef. Today I'm joined by my best friend, when it's not Morrow or Marto, Ciaran Dunphy.
Thanks, Shane.
And today
It's
we're
lovely.
literally joined by a couple of marks.
The not so beefy boy.
This is the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show. We're delighted to be joined by the All-Ireland winners, Claire,
We're on the banner.
and the gentleman from the Five Marks podcast. Dunphy, I know that hurts your heart.
It's all right. You know, get over it. See what these boys are about.
We have some wrestling friends.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So hard to
we
find in
have some
Ireland.
wrestling friends as well.
Yeah. It's class.
Thousands of wrestling fans in Ireland. None of us know anybody.
No, well, welcome down.
Thank you for
Thanks for
having
having
us.
us. Yeah.
Kenny.
Yeah.
The Five Marks, you're doing tremendous work in talking about Irish wrestling and weekly controversies and various different podcasts that you have going.
I know, too many.
Too many. Way too many at this
You
stage.
just
We're
fucking
getting there.
love wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carmo and Martin. I
Carmo
should
and Martin,
introduce. I
yes.
should.
He's not my best friend, but
No.
And we have Will over here as well.
Will is ready for the hot tag.
Yeah,
Will the
Coming
editor.
in out.
if he is needed. Lads, today, considering that is the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show and the Five Marks, I don't want to frame it as like a SmackDown versus Raw, but
Oh, fuck.
It
I brought my kendo stick and everything.
but it is the Wrestling Fan Wrestling Show
What a
versus the Five Marks. So in that vein, I want to pitch to you a potential topic for today. You talk about Irish wrestling, right? That's what you
Yeah.
do.
That's our
we
thing.
just talk about wrestling in a different country. That's what we do. So I want to talk about WWE versus AEW.
Yes.
Every time you put it up on like TikTok or Instagram, like the ones that seem to go really well is like, is AEW shit? Has AEW messed up? And people are like, no, yes. So that's what we're going to do today.
Sounds good.
We're just going to clickbait.
You're going to get a
Clickbait the
big
shit
I
round.
do love a bit of clickbait.
Now, words to the wise. I haven't watched All In yet, or All Out. I've watched All In. I haven't watched All Out, but we're going to steer clear of that. I hope. No spoilers. You've watched it.
I've watched it. Yeah.
Enjoy it.
I enjoyed it a lot. Actually.
Yeah. Which is weird.
It was crazy when Shane McMahon showed up, wasn't it?
amazing.
Just,
I can't
wow.
believe it. That's what really said it for me.
But it's weird. You've kind of went off the AEW boil for a while, and as have I.
I was thinking about it this morning. I think I'm off the AEW boil for exactly 12 months because went to All In.
Yeah.
And since then, I was really disheartened by AEW for an entire year.
Yep.
And just in the last month, pretty much All In again, almost exactly 12 months, I'm kind of back a little bit. Kind of back, and they're slowly reeling me back in with some long-term booking, good storylines, some solid matches. They still have problems, but even production seems a little bit better, which was a big problem for me for like a company that's nearly 5 years old or is 5 years old. Get your production shit sorted.
Yeah.
Mate.
When your fandom probably started like ourselves with WWF, WWE.
Yeah.
You know, to see and be fans of it, you're probably a bit of a younger vintage than myself and Ciaran. So, like, did you live through the Attitude Era and stuff?
I would have been just out of it. When I would have got into it around 2001. Would have
Good
been
year.
around the time that I would have got into it, yeah.
WrestleMania 17.
Was the first pay-per-view I ever watched.
Wow.
What a paper. Yeah, but like, it can only go down after that.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It's like, I've never hit that height again. I've never gone to it, but like, yeah, it was a good time to get into it.
Did you take in, say, alternatives like TNA and stuff?
Yeah.
Put it on Bravo whatever day it was on. You know, I remember
Wrestling Channel.
I wasn't around for that, and I never knew about it until I don't know who we had on. Was it Jay or somebody? And there was like, oh, the Wrestling Channel. I was like, what the fuck's the Wrestling Channel?
Oh, man.
And apparently, like, IWW was on there and everything. I was there like, what? Because I found TNA one day completely on accident, just flicking through the
was the
channels, and then what's this? Oh Jesus, is that Christian?
Yeah.
That's where he went.
And he's doing really cool shit.
I was just hooked there since, and then became massive AJ Styles mark for years. Still am now.
Abyss, Samoa Joe, Chris
All of them.
Daniels.
There's so many.
All the
So
boys, even
many.
someone like Michael Shane, you know, there's a name that gets lost.
Right up to the Hogan Bischoff era.
That's when it kind of dips
That
away.
doesn't work
alright,
for me,
yeah. That's when
brother.
it
That's
dips
kind of
away.
interesting because they kind of like WWE-ified TNA at the time, and they tried to, like, they brought back the Nasty Boys and they brought in Val Venus, who was Sean Morley, and you're like, what the fuck is this? This isn't TNA. So you go back to WWE.
Got rid of the six-sided ring.
Yeah.
Which was a big thing as well.
Yeah,
Like
huge
that
thing.
was huge.
Yeah.
That was TNA, really.
I do
that's
love
exciting.
though that fans are like, the fucking six-sided ring's gone. You know, I cannot. What is this? And the wrestlers are, Thank God that side of the ring is gone.
And then you get back into WWE fandom, and you have the Summer of Punk, you have CM Punk, and you had Nexus, and WWE tried to counter him at the time with Bret Hart returning.
Yeah.
And, you're back in WWE. It's going stale for me anyway. Then NXT comes, and you're like, "What the fuck is this? Is amazing." And it's WWE, so it has that production value. But you're seeing the likes of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
It's really well thought out stuff.
Because at the same time, the indie scene was going phenomenally well as well. Like NXT was kind of like, well, Ring of Honor is doing so well. We need to do something here. A lot of fans are bleeding back towards that system.
Yeah.
And then NXT brought so many fans back in.
So even in OTT, like, you know, you'd have Keith Lee and he'd be at OTT, or Matt Riddle at OTT, and then like 2 months later, he's on NXT.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is amazing. You're only a few steps away from WWE. And
from
then
Vince burying you on the main roster. You're only 3 steps
Yeah,
away
pretty
from
much,
that.
yeah.
2 steps from WWE, 3 from that.
We got Swerve Strickland on a Contender show to get buried in WWE.
But like, I was a fan of WCW growing up. I was a fan of the rest of the channel and everything that they had on it. Ring of Honor, CGW, New Japan. They used to do the Super Junior stuff. I remember seeing Wild Pegasus, not mentioning his name, and Black Tiger, which was Eddie.
Isn't here to say it.
Yeah, which was Eddie Guerrero, and seeing that being blown away. But always WWE has been a constant in my life. And sometimes I'm hate watching. I'm fucking hating what's going on. Super Cena, lol. AEW comes along. Finally, we have a proper alternative with proper money backing, because TNA always seemed that level below. But AEW, from the offset, in my opinion, seemed like they were just going to be competing with them. Like that first event, Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes, is one of my favourite matches of all time. Things seemed like they were going to change.
Yeah, but even with TNA, when you go back, like TNA had a lot of their own stars, and whereas AEW were bringing in a lot of the indie guys, having Chris Jericho there from day one is just massive to anybody's company. So that kind of way, it's huge, like, because you have that known name who's been around for the last 20 odd years, now coming into a brand new company.
And like, we start off with the pay-per-view, but when we're getting into the Dynamite, you have John Moxley then coming.
Pac came in as well.
You had Pac there, and Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho were just after coming off that New Japan stuff that got a lot of, you know, publicity. So AEW felt like it was here to stay. It was new. It was fresh. You start hearing about bidding wars then, and different people that might be jumping, and like
that double pop when Danielson and
Adam
Cole, baby.
like within the 2 minutes, like Jesus Christ.
And that was 2 weeks after CM Punk had come back, and you're just like, you're on this trajectory where, forgive the euphemism, but I'm all in on AEW.
Yeah.
You used the word there, forgive. I think that was also part of it, in that there was a lot of kind of early teething issues as well, that you were forgiving them because they were such a young company.
The Dark Order, I hate them.
And no, but like,
You do not.
I hate the Dark Order.
even the Dark Order had a lot of good moments like that when they come out for that big
I'm
entrance.
done already.
Defend the Dark Order.
So here's the thing.
I would defend the Dark Order.
What Dark Order are we talking about? We talking about all of the guys there, or with the Dark Order now? Because Dark Order now is shit.
No, I remember they were trying to be pushed.
Hangman, Dark Order.
Hangman Dark Order was the best Dark
Yeah,
Order.
I like Brody Lee.
Yeah, Brody Lee. Once Brody Lee came in and Hangman, the Dark Order was the best thing.
Remember when Evil Uno and Stu Grayson came? I didn't mind them as a tag team, but when they started trying to push them, they finished like a Dynamite where they were like beating up people and stuff.
All the little goons that were
Like not even punching. I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
no, that I
But
can't
that's the
defend.
forgiveness thing. Like you kind of watching and you're going, okay, well, the camera angle's slightly wrong. They're a young company that just need to keep. But then after, this is what I said at the very start, after 3 years, you're like, come on, boys, who is actually looking out? Who is looking? Who's the overseer of all this bullshit?
This is one thing I'm going to love to talk about later on, like the forgiveness thing, because I feel like that's still going now. Do you know, like, but they're 5, 6 years in. You're like, yeah, but like, if this was, you know, a different McMahon running this, you'd be like, giving out.
That's exactly what you sound like when you're talking about it.
I was like, is there an echo in here?
You know, because like, my thing with AEW first started, it was cool because I had just started kind of watching New Japan at that time.
Yeah.
Which was a big part of this whole thing.
Like hearing Chris Jericho, who at the time was a WWE contracted superstar, going over to New Japan to fight Kenny Omega was crazy.
I remember getting it on demand, and like that was one of the first New Japan shows that I bought as it was happening.
That promo video where it's revealed that Jericho was actually coming.
Alpha versus Omega.
Class. Yeah.
Brilliant. And then I think was it New Year's Day or something like that. Like I was watching BD at the time the announcement comes out, because there was rumblings at the time of like, oh, JR is starting a company with the Young Bucks and stuff, and obviously that wasn't true. It was Tony Khan, but like that comes out and you're all buzzing, Double or Nothing happening, watching that. The pay-per-view was good. I'm a massive story person. You mentioned like Cody and Dustin. One of the best stories going in, and the whole thing afterwards, like, I don't need a tag team partner. I need my brother. Brilliant. The story of Hangman. Can Hangman be the first AEW World Champion? This young guy.
Nope.
Straight to Chris Jericho, who then loses the belt, 2 months later or something like that.
We got a good promo out of that after
we did.
That was the right decision. That was the right decision. Yeah, Jericho winning first.
Oh, 100%. Especially just to secure that TV deal. Without Chris Jericho, there was no TNT.
I kind of felt part of my falling off as well. So it was the forgiveness thing, the production stuff. I was also a big BT fan, so I watched that religiously.
I hate the Young Bucks because of the OTT event.
Well, that's a different thing. But yeah, would wait religiously. I think it was a Wednesday, was it? It used to come out constantly. Yeah. And then I started to kind of see, and with Jericho as well, after a couple of years, I feel like I'm watching Hall and Nash and Hogan being Jericho, Hall and Nash being the Young Bucks, and they're all mates of Bischoff, Tony Khan, and they're all obviously able to book their own storylines. They all got creative control. And the blurring of, it was this, like wrestling for me, one of the greatest things of wrestling is blurring reality and what's real, what's not. And that was too much. I knew too much behind the curtain for this to
But that's
ever
not you,
buy
though,
into.
isn't it?
It is. But that's everybody. I think that was a thing for everybody. And then the Young Bucks being...
Well, we discussed this before, though, is the fact that the blurring of reality and stuff. Other TV shows, we don't look behind the scenes to find out Bryan Cranston is actually fucking an asshole behind the scenes, and that helps. No, you don't. You try and just consume the product as is presented on television.
but it is different.
But they're leaning into it as well. You see,
yeah, but that's like a written TV show, which is set out for like they have the whole series from start to finish. This is something that's probably written on the fly a lot of the time.
And to counter that as well, in terms of what was happening on AEW, it's important to mention what was happening in WWE. You had Roman Reigns getting covered in dog food at the time.
When that dog costume came out, here's the big dog.
Fucking the Fiend
succotash.
The Fiend was getting buried at Hell in a Cell, and then get buried again at Crown Jewel. You had Goldberg in main events, and you're like, why the fuck? You have 7-hour WrestleManias. You're like, why do I care about any of these matches? Poor Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley, they had a WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 35. I was only falling asleep, and that was before the main event.
Yeah, I fell asleep during the main event.
Yeah.
Fell asleep. Yeah. Nothing on the match or anything. It was 5, 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
Do you know by the time we got to that?
Show,
and the one thing I hated that era as well, I love Finn, obviously being one of our Irish boys, but when he used to come up with the demon and do that whole thing, how fucking stupid is that?
He was in a match with Roman Reigns, wasn't he, as the demon, and the top rope broke.
And nothing ever came of that.
No,
nothing.
the demon, use it all the time if it helps you win matches.
Yeah, but so that's what's happening in WWE. They don't care about their tag division. They don't care about all their secondary belts. So that's why you're gravitating towards something like AEW.
100%.
But as well as that, I think like a lot of us would have grown up through the Attitude Era, which is called one of the best eras in wrestling. So AEW is now giving you that kind of an era again, where we get to see a lot more hardcore wrestling, that kind of story-driven type of stuff.
Like
so I
Joey
think it just
Janela and John
draws in.
Moxley headlined was it a Rampage or no? It wasn't even Rampage. Dynamite. Yeah, the in the Cracker Barrel match or whatever.
Yeah,
but you just. Knowing Moxley's CZW history and how crazy Joey Janela is, you're like, this could be fucking anything.
Yeah.
You had Jimmy Havoc there. We all know what happened with him, but at the time, he was considered an ultra-violent wrestler. Yeah. You're like, wow, they're going to really lean into this.
The Sean Spears chair spot.
Yeah, getting cracked over the head with... Now, there is stuff like that where he gets split open, or Matt Hardy when he falls off the thing with Sammy Guevara and bursts his head, that you're kind of like, oh, shit. But they were doing fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then... do you think they were hindered by the pandemic?
No, they did really well.
I think they did better than what WWE did.
Absolutely.
The fact that they had wrestlers out in the crowd, it added to it. Because
it made storylines continue even during the matches. It was brilliant.
And it
made them went to pop and cheer.
It made WWE change their angle as well, because they, if you remember those first pandemic shows, they were just it was the hard camera into the crowd, whereas AEW faced it towards a very visually aesthetic stage.
Yeah.
And WWE had to change that up as well.
It's a great idea. No, they did really well during that as well. I think it's the last 2 years really has been the problem. Like leading up to be honest, the big part of this as well is I'm a fucking CM Punk mark, and I will go to the ends of the earth to defend Punk on loads and loads of things. But I felt they handled that so badly, and I felt Punk ultimately felt like a big fish in a small pond, and now he's doing really well in WWE.
I've got a great thing about that. Before, what do you think about CM Punk?
I don't like CM Punk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
At all?
No, not at
Even
all.
before AEW, he didn't like Punk.
Yeah, I didn't like Punk at all.
As a wrestler, as a person.
You're a big
Like you don't know him as a person, but like what has been presented.
A little bit of both. I was never a huge fan of his WWE run. There was a couple of matches alright, like the match against Cena at Money in the Bank 2011 was very good.
Straight Edge Society stuff.
Never that into it.
You're a big Colt Cabana mark, though, aren't you?
No, not yet. Scotty Goldman, yes. That's good.
I have an interesting story about Colt Cabana. When we were doing the documentary for OTT, which was the last day in the Tivoli, Colt Cabana was on the show. He was with Club Tropicana, and they were going up against More Than Hype. And we were like there to get behind the scenes stuff. So we see Colt Cabana going over his match with Club Tropicana and the rest of the guys. And I go over to Matthew and I said, Matthew, just get like, a little shot of it. I don't need audio, just get a shot of it. So Matthew opens up the camera, there's Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana just goes, can you turn off the camera, please? And
This is your guy.
No, but Matthew just went, no problem, turn it off. I was like, don't use that footage. Don't use that footage.
Fair.
But yeah, that's my Colt Cabana story.
Where's your Punk? Where does the hatred come from?
Especially in AEW.
Disdain, pure disdain.
There was just one day back in one summer. Phil Brooks came up to me.
It was the summer of Punk.
I didn't know what Summer Punk was what it was. But especially in AEW, like with stuff in the ring, I just didn't find it that great. I know he had a great match against MJF in the dog collar, but I wasn't that into it. Like even these promos and stuff, it was the same stuff from 11 years ago when he was in WWE or 10 years ago when he was in WWE. So I felt like I kind of seen it. It's kind of like Chris Jericho in a way, where Chris Jericho kind of still reinvents himself, but it's still kind of the same.
Remember he was in that like GOAT category at the start. Now he's so far again. In terms of Punk, I first come across him on the Wrestling Channel. He's fighting International Showdown in, could have been FWA or an FWA promote Frontier Wrestling Alliance, and he was going against Samoa Joe. And I remember seeing him in that, and then seeing him in Ring of Honor, and then he shows up on ECW. And I wasn't particularly impressed by him, but what I liked about him is that he was unconventional.
Yeah.
He wasn't what everybody else was. And then I started getting into him, and I witnessed the pipe bomb live. Like I didn't hear about it the next day or anything. I was watching Raw and it happened, and I was like, this guy is right on everything.
Yeah.
He's right on the money on everything. Wasn't a massive fan of Straight Edge Society. I didn't like that Royal Rumble thing, where he's in the Royal Rumble, he was just throwing people out and preaching and stuff. But I could appreciate like what he was trying to do. But that 2011 run like solidified him. And then with Paul Heyman and all that, and the history between those two. And then I think he created a lore about himself by going, you know what, I don't like any of this, fuck you all. And then no matter who gives him a shit for what he did in the UFC, to step into any type of ring,
he had the balls to do it.
To
100%.
fucking do it. Like, it is fun. I really respect that. And then coming back with AEW, I was stoked.
I have a question. I've argued about this with a lot of people. I disagree with it, but a lot of people think if you go back to WrestleMania 29 when Punk fought Taker, should Punk have beaten Taker and ended the streak?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I think Lesnar was the perfect person to beat Taker.
I don't agree with
I think Lesnar was the perfect person to beat Taker.
I think no one. I think he should have never.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Think about what Lesnar went on to do after that.
Oh, 100%.
And who like Lesnar was still quite young in terms of wrestling. He beats the Undertaker, and he headlines how many WrestleManias after that?
Yeah.
Because and he's such a marketable person. I think he was the perfect person to beat the Undertaker.
If you had to beat him, but I don't think I would have had. I know Punk wanted. I know it was talked about, but I don't think Punk should have ever won that. No.
I don't think Punk would have been the right person.
No,
I know with everything that came after it and he leaving WWE and so on.
The problem I think with Lesnar, I know we're going to go off topic, but the problem I think with Lesnar defeating the Undertaker is no one thought it was a possibility because he had lost to Triple H and he had lost to John Cena on John Cena's first play. Yeah. So no one really considered losing the streak to be a possibility. And it never seemed in danger. Didn't seem in danger with Punk. Didn't seem in danger with, I think, in my opinion, with Shawn Michaels, with Triple H, Edge before that.
A-Train and whoever.
That was
Never
WrestleMania 19.
seen the danger against A-Train.
WrestleMania 20 against Kane, 21 against Randy Orton, 22 against Mark Henry, wasn't going to lose that, 23 against Batista, he wasn't going to lose that, 24 Edge. It just never seemed to be in danger since it had been made a thing, and that's why I remember talking to a friend and he was like, what do you think of the Undertaker-Brock Lesnar match? I was like, Undertaker's winning, obviously. Yeah. So when it happened, it was such a big shock that it's easy to be really negative about it, I think. But
I think the shock is actually what makes me kind of... I can see the draw of doing that, but I still don't think... I think the streak would have been better protected forever.
But Lesnar was great, and he goes on to be a big part of WWE for a long time, which creates the staleness around the product, which makes AEW look like the fresh new thing. And this is where I think they had a problem during the pandemic era, is that they just consistently and aggressively went after free talents, and they brought them in when there's no crowd, no pop, instead of waiting, instead of staggering them out over a few months. We mentioned Punk, Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson. That was with a crowd, right? I understand that, but that's in the space of 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And if you look at the pandemic, they bring in Sting, they bring in Brody Lee, they bring in Matt Hardy, they bring in Malachi Black, and countless others, that FTR, that are just going off the top of my head. So you're getting all these new talents, new shiny toys, and then they fall off. Malachi Black falls off.
Yeah. You know? I think the problem is at the start, Tony Khan didn't realize that you just have to let certain talent, you just got to let them go back into the indies and don't sign everybody.
Yeah.
That as a fan at the time, I was an advocate for it because I assumed wrongfully that there would be long-term plans for them.
Yeah.
But like everything, I mean, this is why I was so annoyed at AEW for the last 12 months, is that all my belief and hope that we're just around the corner from that big storyline. He has to have it right. Like, he's a mark for 1980s NWA. Tony Khan knows his wrestling history, and he would just never pull the trigger on certain things. Johnny Martz made a good point last week when he was talking about, we were always just a moment away from this massive Bullet Club invasion. Like, it always felt like in the first 2.5 years, it's just around the corner. It has to come. These connections to New Japan are coming in. Forbidden Door is in. Yeah. And it just never happened. Instead, we get all this soft version of, Bullet Club Gold. Yeah, and Bang Bang Gang and all that stuff.
Which for like a guy of, I can't think of his name, the main guy in Bullet Club Gold. Jay White. For a guy, for like the run that he had in New Japan, to now come into AEW and do what he's doing.
Another guy that just comes in and is an afterthought. I was very wary of Will Ospreay's first appearances in AEW because you're just like, man, this guy is fucking... Now he's getting that kudos now, but he's like, this guy's generational. Yeah. You're just throwing him in a fucking 6-man. I think that was his first match. Yeah. And the Forbidden Door concept was absolutely dynamite initially.
I went to the first one.
Yeah. Over in Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah, initially, absolutely dynamite. And then it just starts falling down. And you're like you have pushes of... You've Proud and Powerful, the LAX, you have Santana and Ortiz. Yeah. They were never champions.
No. Nope.
They were a class tag team. When they came in, they were fucking hot as shit. You had the Lucha Brothers. They come in, they're hot as shit. And then Pentagon turns into a joke because he's doing Zero Mero every fucking match. Man, yeah. You need Pentagon from Lucha Underground.
There's a lot of that indie stuff that they never filtered out as well that would work in front of a live crowd with no cameras. But, you're on TV, boy. You can't go fucking this and then wait for 5 minutes for your man to recover. Like, if
you're Tony Khan, you tell him you had the coolest look in all of wrestling, right? You were the most marketable person that I have, because toys, I would buy every Penta toys. The second he lets him put his hand on the back of his... Because he had the 0, and then he puts a hand on it like that. I was like, that just looks stupid and hokey. You're the owner of this company. You should be protecting this man from all of his maybe bad ideas that he might have, and that's a big thing. He doesn't allow people to stop. Matt Hardy, Matt Hardy is another one. Remember, he shows up and he's popping up. He's teleporting, and then they have him in the Stampede, Stadium Stampede, and he's like being reincarnated and stuff. You're like.
Shane, I'm beginning to believe that you think Tony can't.
Yes, this is a good joke.
Thank you so much.
Did you get it from Morrow?
No, it's another Dunphy original.
Yeah.
You definitely write that at the back of a DVD somewhere.
Yeah.
Here's my issue with AEW, and Carmo's going to absolutely hate this because I rant about this so much.
I believe this is going to be 10
I want to get back to your punk
because
stuff
I was like you,
Yeah.
okay? I remember watching All Out when Bryan and Adam Cole came out, and I left that pay-per-view going, it was as close to an old Black and Gold NXT. You can
Beautiful.
get.
Yeah.
And then beautiful, amazing couple of months, and one man let the whole company down. And no, it wasn't CM Punk for all you people on TikTok.
Adam Cole.
Yes, no. Tony Khan is the biggest issue in AEW.
Khan, he said, C-O-N.
Tony Khan.
Tony Khan. He is the biggest issue in AEW, and he doesn't even know he is the biggest issue. My whole thing with AEW, and again, it was a bit like you, it was kind of maybe in too deep, to like what's going on in the background. Like I was listening to Dax's podcast when he was doing it, and
Hated that podcast.
I loved it.
I felt it was too...
It was way too much into the back door.
He's an active member of the roster.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just like, oh, Tony Khan is doing this, and what a shoot 12. And then the Young Bucks, and they're a whole different thing. But
loaded.
the fact you have your biggest merchandise seller, your biggest star in CM Punk coming to you and saying, look, these lads are just coming at me for no reason. They think I've done this wrong. I've not done this wrong. Can you please sort them out? Oh yeah, I'll do it. Does nothing.
Yeah.
When they released the footage, I loved when they released the footage. I loved when they released the footage, okay? Because Punk goes out, Punk says, I did this, this, and this. We're going to show them. We're going to show the footage where he's telling a complete lie. He did everything he said he did.
Show me where I'm telling lies.
Yeah. It was just so stupid. And like the whole thing of, the week beforehand, Tony Schiavone coming to him and being like, look, Jack is doing this. Tony Khan, all he had to do was just say, lads, we're running a company here.
Exactly.
You're the EVPs. Fucking act like it.
Business.
Put business over what you think is wrong. Punk is our best seller. He's our best star. Not really, but you know what I mean. Top star, big name.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
He's
draw.
the
He's a
biggest
draw.
draw.
Like
First $1 million gate, and some dumb-headed fuck like Hangman Adam Page.
Goes into business for himself.
100%. Now,
No.
Punk made mistakes, but I feel like he also had
he
no
couldn't-
choice.
Yeah, he couldn't do the buckshot lariat. That was a big mistake.
I remember.
Fucking man.
I remember after the Hangman promos in work with Emmett, who's on the podcast as well, and I remember
Big fan of
saying
yours, by
to
the way. He told me to say that, so I'm going to throw that in now. He's a big fan of yours as well, so he told me to say that. So
well, I remember being in
she
work
was
with
here.
him. Yeah. I staged and got Carmo myself. But I remember going to like, what was that Hangman promo? A bit weird, wasn't it? It's like Punk just wasn't engaging with it.
Yeah.
And, I thought it was just Punk.
And as well, because Hangman is referencing stuff that as an audience member, we have no
I'm
idea.
going to protect AEW from you.
What does that
I
mean?
thought that was good.
But what does it mean?
does it mean?
Eddie Kingston, because he's cancer. Who didn't Seth Rollins call him
Seth
a cancer?
Rollins,
yeah,
So-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like
Yeah.
you're playing on that kind of wrestling zeitgeist
But
stuff.
Punk is the, Punk is the face.
Eddie Kingston did the same thing. You call me fat in Ring of Honor 15 years ago.
Eddie, you forgive everything Eddie does. That's just whatever, Eddie.
Yeah, and MJF is like that was nice when you're leaning on.
But Punk is the face, and Hangman's coming out saying that everyone in the locker room hates him, and just doesn't. And they've also gone
But
through.
Hangman's a face too.
But they're also have gone through the kind of beats that they're going to hit along the promo, and he throws this at them. Obviously, you're going to be like,
What the fuck?
dude, what the fuck? Like, thought we're
Well,
doing business here.
Eddie Kingston had done the exact same thing in the previous few.
I don't remember this one at all.
Eddie Kingston was saying all that shit.
He was doing a little bit of it, yeah, but there was history that the audience were aware of that would allow that to happen. With this, it was just a very isolated.
Out of nowhere, it just, I'm going to protect AEW. And then we got Brawl Out, which was a thing in itself. But even like, you can kind of, you get the sense of how the Bucks and you get the sense of how Tony Khan run.
Look at Tony Khan during that.
yeah,
Like
He could have stopped him at any time.
He's like, hey, Phil, shut the fuck up, please.
Calm down, right?
Shut the. But he's like this, nodding along. Oh, I shouldn't have let him ask you. I should have cut it off. No. And then Punk says, "I'm trying to run a business here," as if he's the. Yeah, he says that in front of the man trying to run the business.
That's a bizarre line.
And you're like, what the fuck? There's no respect, it seems, there for him.
I think at that point there wasn't. There was a lot of love prior to that. Punk would have been very open about his love for Tony Khan and that he's real.
You want to headline 2 nights of a fucking.
My biggest thing, which I will never forgive Tony Khan for, is, and the Young Bucks as well, is because I'm like huge Bret. Like you were talking about our ears of wrestling, so like late 90s Bret Hart, fucking love that man so much.
Bret.
But the Survivor Series, when you had the Hart Foundation and you had the DX, and it led to the big Montreal thing, and you had this we will never get an opportunity like it again for the rest of our lives. I don't think we will, and for the rest of wrestling, who knows? But you had Punk and his crew and an opportunity to go to All In with Kenny and the Bucks and
do the triple threat match the 6-man tags.
Well, do a 6-man.
He fucking loves those 6-mans anyway.
But do Kenny versus Punk, where it's Michaels versus Bret Hart all over again, and the fans don't know what is real, what is not, and that would sell so well. It would be the greatest match of all time.
That was another big thing, like leading into a brawl or leading out of Brawl Out, is that we didn't know if it was real or not.
No.
Yeah.
I was like, surely this didn't fucking happen. And a dog big Kenny Omega and Ace Steel fucking showed up.
Steel?
What the fuck is happening? This is surely a work.
Yeah.
And then,
Punk's drinking now, I swear.
and then Punk comes back and you're getting a new show, Collision, and you're like, oh, this is going to lead to...
It's still a work. Yeah, like I was still hopeful. I was like, it's maybe still a work. Maybe it's all leading to some big accumulation, some huge WrestleMania moment storyline crossover.
Nowhere.
Just never goes anywhere.
That's the one thing with AEW we find out though, is like the biggest things go absolutely nowhere. Like we're talking about the Dark Order. Dark Order, technically speaking, are still owed like some sort of tag match for the titles. They had that massive story with the Elite. They had the tag title opportunity. Lose this, that's it. It's gone. Big opening match. Never went anywhere after
They
that.
had a few, like there is a few, like to play devil's advocate a bit, there is other things that have accumulated. You know, you had the Hangman chasing storyline, and that Kenny Hangman feud was brilliant.
You had Gangrel show up, which is lovely.
Unbelievable. You had you obviously the Danielson stuff at All In. Sting stuff was just played out perfectly.
Lost.
No, he shouldn't.
He should have lost.
Maybe. But so there is like, it's not all, it's just you can't
just so
forgive them. You can't forgive them anymore because there's so many.
I can't forgive him for Wardlow. I can't forgive him for fucking.
Wardlow, come on! I think he.
Don't you disrespect Wardlow here?
I think Wardlow. I think he got about as much as you can get out of Wardlow.
If Wardlow was in WWE, he'd be a multi-time world champion now.
Yeah, and everyone wouldn't be watching. It'd be boring.
I would. I'd watch the fuck out of Wardlow in WWE.
Until he gets exposed, and you're like, actually, this man
Exposed with what?
can't really promo. And
Took Goldberg 20 years to be exposed. Yeah, that's called Symphony. That's Ilya Dragunov. You like Ilya fucking Dragunov?
I fucking love Ilya Dragunov. Do not compare Ilya Dragunov to Wardlow.
Fucking Brian Cage. I know he doesn't.
Brian Cage.
I think he kind of.
But there's so many guys that they brought in that they initially met. Ethan Page.
Okay, what about?
There's too
How
many
the fuck
cages.
do you fuck up Ethan Page though?
Christian.
How the fuck do you fuck up Ethan Page?
How do you
counterbalance is they did unbelievably well with Christian.
All right, they did, but the one.
What's this man talk about?
Well,
Come on in, Will. Come on in.
you can sit on Carmo's knee.
Go on, stand up.
No.
Say hello to the camera there, Will.
Hi guys. I genuinely think Christian in AEW is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Defend that right now.
So, when I was growing up watching wrestling,
Give that man a mic into his mouth. Get closer to it.
Closer.
Get close.
so when I was growing up watching wrestling, Christian wasn't in the WWE. He went to TNA at the time.
Yeah.
So
Man Event Mafia represent Christian
I got to see him
Coalition.
like that. So I was like, okay, he's cool. And when I was younger, I always thought Edge and Christian were brothers. So I was like, oh, Edge's brothers in TNA.
They were brothers until they just became friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
That can happen. That can happen.
That was a storyline thing.
So that's what I used to thought. And then he came back, done his little stint doing the ECW championship. I was like, cool.
It's Christian.
It's Christian. And then I see him appear in AEW.
He wins the world championship now with Randy Orton. He has a nice little few matches there.
When I see him in AEW, I think it reminds me of the way the Young Bucks are treated. He's given everything he wants, and it's just so annoying to see.
I think he's making it gold. The one criticism that I have of Christian in AEW. Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Will.
I fucking will, guy.
Let's blast him.
The one thing that I don't like about Christian's run is that he's doing the whole patriarchy stuff. Great name for a faction, and he's doing the whole father stuff. Why hasn't he rechristened Nick Wayne Nick Cage?
That's your only problem.
That's my only problem. Like,
Well, you gotta bring him in then. Like
you have Nick Cage. You have Nicolas fucking Cage now.
Maybe it's a copyright thing. I don't know.
It definitely is, but like it would be amazing. Yeah, if he's spending all that money on Final Countdown, you can spend money on getting the Nick Cage name.
I think they've done. So sorry, Will, you're not here to defend yourself anymore. But I think they've done just the perfect amount with Christian, because he's okay. He is on TV a lot, but it is comical gold. I think.
It is.
It's brilliant, and I think he's not like the world champion carrying the belt where you're like forced to see it in the last segment every week. He's kind of comes into different segments, in and out. He kind of flavors it. I suppose you can't.
There's one thing, because
I was going to start spoiling.
We frame this as AEW versus WWE, and we haven't really veered into the WWE stuff. The one thing I want to say before we start talking maybe about WWE is, what characters has Tony Khan actually created? Because everything seems to stem from the indie characters. So when you look at Vince McMahon, you look at WWE, the characters that they've created, whether hit or miss, you can go from The Undertaker to TL Hopper.
Blackpool Combat Club.
Blackpool, that's not a character.
That's
they're all still a hologram.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it, and that is terrible.
No, you just picked the worst one. There's definitely other examples.
Jack Perry then. Jack Perry would have been a big one that I would have
He
said.
came in as Jungle Boy.
Yeah, but
But
it
he's
wasn't
changed.
But
Yeah,
that's
I
what I'm
know.
saying. What person has come in as debuted with a new character?
You could argue.
Acclaimed, yeah, probably.
I know that she moved on, but Jay Cargill, I don't think she had any experience before. She came in, was absolutely amazing.
What was her gimmick?
Being a fucking pink
Storm
Jack
from X-Men.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Yeah.
She was just like she was like a Greek goddess. Like she was just
Came
better
in,
than
kicked
everyone.
her ass, and
Yeah, I loved her. I
got
thought she was
paid.
brilliant. And I think WWE are kind of, they could do more with her.
They will do
Oh,
more with her.
100%. They're 100% building up to that Jay Cargill.
Bianca
match.
needs to turn. But I just find it interesting that character, because it seems like whoever's doing well on the indies gets picked up immediately. They don't really have
Swerve is the obvious answer. Like,
but Swerve was Swerve when he came.
Nah,
Yeah, but he wasn't
Swerve
that- he wasn't
like
Swerve
this.
now.
No, he
Yeah,
wasn't
maybe.
like this. He wasn't as he's like.
We seen him in OTT.
Yeah, but he was,
And we were like, that's a fucking
well,
star.
what did he come out to?
Ain't nobody.
It's
charisma.
different, completely
Unbelievable.
different. Now he's
Unbelievable.
coming out and he's walking out and he's just this smile. He's pure evil. Like he's
He turned-
absolutely.
he was-
and now he's obviously kind of getting a bit too over and he's going to become face and everything else. But
He
he's-
became face.
Yeah, he became.
He
face,
was a
yeah.
heel, a face, and now he's back to being a heel.
Yeah.
But his house is burned down. So now he's a face.
No, yeah, well, that would do
He's
it.
a tweener.
That
He's
would
a
do it,
tweener.
wouldn't it?
Tweener,
It's
yeah.
so bad for
He's a
his house
tweener.
going down.
I think a lot.
Well,
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
was
You're
a
like,
heel against-
that's pretty bad shit.
He was a
I
heel
kind of
against
support you.
Danielson. It was kind of like when Michaels became a heel just for that feud with Hogan.
That's okay.
But Hogan was always the fucking heel.
That's okay as long as your opponent is not suffering from it.
We've shit on AEW a lot, right? It's great that Joe
I
was...
can keep going for another 50 minutes
Yeah,
if
no,
you
we'll
want.
get back to
But no, but just before last thing, the Swerve stuff. Do you enjoy the Swerve stuff?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially
and
if
are they bringing you back in any way?
They are, but not as much. Like
You'll never be back to the
I'll
same.
never be back to the way I loved it. Like I used to look at it and was like, God, this is like NXT Black and Gold.
Okay, but I'll just say though. So there was a moment with WWE where I said, "Never fucking again will I do that," and then the Bloodline stuff got me back in quite a bit. Now I watch a lot of WWE again.
Yeah.
But it can happen. So
it can happen.
You're
100%.
always one spark away from, like, you look at Kofi. Like, who the fuck after the Royal Rumble would have thought Kofi would have headlined WrestleMania? One night changed all that. He had that gauntlet night. So there's always that spark in wrestling that you're waiting for. And I've mentioned this on previous podcasts. Something like the pipe bomb promo, something like the Nexus invasion, Retribution initially. You're like, oh, this is
Retribution initially.
this is going to change. This could change everything. The way, like, the whole product is presented. I think AEW has made great adjustments. I think MJF's run and what he was allowed to do with Adam Cole. I think Adam Cole's general run in AEW
disaster.
has been terrible. That whole, like, allowing them to be Ghostbusters, and I thought was ridiculous. Remember,
that cleaning the house segment thing where they were like with the kingdom and they're in the house and they're doing like this kind of like they're meant to be heels doing all this stupid dumb as fuck comedy shtick and everybody suffered from it. It's a disaster.
I think MJF's run with Adam Cole. I know a lot of people like the brochachos or whatever the fuck they were called, but I think the vignettes that they shot were terrible. The fact that I think they were blessed. The fact that they got the headline All In. Because people would have gone to that anyway, no matter what the main event was.
Yeah.
But I think they were blessed, and then it just peters out. The whole devil storyline. It was just that's what turned me off AEW. I was like, I'm not interested in what you're producing, and at the same time, WWE
It's hot as fuck.
was producing
Yeah.
fucking great stuff.
Here's one thing: if it changed, I'd be glad with it. If they stopped doing this internet stupid taking shots for no apparent reason, I'd be okay. I'll start coming in. But even as a massive example,
Internet taking shots.
like I knew he was going to do it. Like we'll talk about All In just quickly. Jack Perry. I said I was on stream with the IW beforehand, and I said I guarantee you, he's going to do something with Glass and go, real glass. He did exactly that.
CM Punk does the same thing. Though,
he
It
does.
goes back and
100%.
forth. Like, sure,
Yeah,
Drew
I don't mind
McIntyre
that.
posted a picture with Jack Perry. Like,
Yeah, I don't mind that.
But the thing is, when WWE do it, it's either. No, I'm not defending them. I hate when it happens either company. But when they do it, either shots were fired. Like the Will Ospreay thing with Triple H, I honest to God, I don't think anything was
No,
there.
but CM Punk does it. He did it as part of the show. Didn't he say something about having a fist fight backstage?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all?
Or there's fans on the other side of this camera.
When the Elite got brought back and they started doing CM Punk spots, they
fucking
go
victory
They
lap.
go to sleep. The fucked up buckshot.
But even making up fakes like Tony Khan and the thing afterwards. Oh, Collision was in such a shit spot a year ago. Well, when Punk was running it, and everyone was loving Collision more than Dynamite. Yeah, no, like it's stupid petty shit. They are putting on good quality. All In was really, really good. I had nothing bad to say about it. I haven't watched All Out in full yet. Just kind of seeing results. But there was one thing I was going to talk about. I can't because you haven't watched it yet. I was saying to Carmo the car. No, but like
Here comes the money.
that if that ever happens, bring in Greg Hamilton as well and do the whole best in the. Oh, I don't know why I
think
thought that was
bringing
hilarious.
Shane and the Mean Street Posse.
Oh God! We're watching WWE now. He's ruined it now.
Bring that big ass.
We were called the quadruple bypass as a faction, the four of us from the rest of the Fan Wrestling Show, but we're thinking about changing up to the Mean Street Podcasters.
I like it.
Yeah.
Or the Mean Street Potties.
Potties, yeah.
You can wear the shirts as well.
Yeah.
right?
Flannel shirts. And
I'll be the working one though. The rest of us don't have to.
I'll be Pete Gas.
I'll be Joey Abs.
And Nash can be Rodney.
Well, shit, no, I could be Shane O'Mac because I'm Shane O'Keefe.
Anyway,
yeah. We'll talk about it in the group WhatsApp.
One thing I know I think about AEW is whatever about like Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage, their pay per views are
top
top notch every time
and they
they
don't
throw a pay per
have
view.
400 hours of ads on them all the
Exactly,
time. Which
you know?
WWE, like, let's chat on WWE for a while.
Yeah. I do want to say one thing because after the other one thing that I said, I think that they could utilize Rampage and Collision a lot better with a brand split.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah,
for age.
absolutely,
Yeah.
Nash came up with a good idea that Rampage is just lucha stuff.
Yeah, or trios.
Just trios. Yeah, whatever.
Just have. I don't know. You say Collision to be a trio show. Just have it identifiable as different. Doesn't necessarily have to be a brand split, but just your lucha show or your fucking continental title. They have about 50 different titles.
and create like competition within, so they all are trying to work their ass off to have
Like
the best show.
what we have with Raw, NXT, and SmackDown.
Yeah.
And push Ring of Honor. Stop letting it fucking die.
Oh man. Anyway,
It's dead. It's
WWE.
a dead brand. WWE. I like it.
Oh my God, it's so good, isn't it?
The pay-per-views, you said that AEW always deliver. I think WWE have been delivering. I know a lot of people are annoyed by the fact that they're doing lots of ads. I think that gives ample time for people because we fucking check out. No matter how much you like wrestling, we fucking check out. There's your piss break. You don't have to watch a fucking St. Pete travel ad going, this is great here. Wade Barrett
I
drinking
want
cocktails.
to travel so much.
No, but I want to go on my phone and go, what the fuck are people saying about that Jade Cargill and Bianca tag team match? You know what I mean?
Let it breathe.
Like, I don't understand how people are live tweeting all the time during AEW. They're like, oh, you're like, what? You're not watching the fucking show.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening.
Yeah, you're back talking about AEW. Go back to
I don't need to watch the
Not
pay-per-view,
even,
okay?
not even to stay back at AEW, but I remember All In last year. By the time the wrestlers would leave the ring, you had 30 seconds by the time the entrances of the next wrestler were happening.
And that's nuts.
You had no time to like
Although
breathe or like settle.
But at All In last year, by the time Samoa Joe and Punk had come out, there was already fucking popping. The whole world had fallen apart backstage.
Yeah.
We were in the top of the stadium and we were going, this is happening right below us. And I know Alvarez is sitting over here because he's tweeted out his seat and he's getting some fucking dirt from someone beneath it. And it's all happening around us right now.
Man.
Fucking losers. Just promote your company.
Yeah. Back to the WWE. I think they're on the fucking. Yeah,
They're
it's
doing
so
good
easy to
stuff.
share. It's so easy. They're doing well, Tony. Maybe you just get a little help. WWE, I think they're doing well. I think they were hampered by Vince's return when Triple H was.
It took over, then Vince kind of slid his way back
and
in.
Triple H brought back a load of people, which I think is interesting. That out of the people that he brought back, that Vince fired, who has really hit the ground running? Karrion Kross, no. Braun Strowman, no. Hit Row, no. Like who else did he bring back? The Gargano probably. He wins the title. Swerve got fired, and he excelled. But out of the people that Vince fired in that sphere, like the OC got brought back, but Swerve is the only one that excelled. Was Vince wrong?
Even something that we see nowadays with Wyatt Six, like obviously Bray Wyatt came back in RIP, but like even when he came back, it was very slow. Like the story stuff was just not going anywhere. Like
slow, yeah.
He had one match. He shows up at Extreme Rules in September?
Yeah.
And then he has the Royal Rumble match in January.
Are you enjoying the White Six stuff?
See how it's going.
Yeah, I think
I'm kind of done with it already.
Oh god,
it was the same. It was the same kind of thing because it started so slow.
Yeah.
Because even when they debuted, they came out in that episode of Raw, which was one of the greatest debuts I think that ever happened in wrestling.
It's class, yeah.
And then you go into 3-4 weeks of these vignettes that nobody cares about.
Yeah, we must be
So
2
that
months
kinda
into it, are we?
That's the
Veer's
thing.
coming. What they need.
shut up, Veer.
Yeah.
Shut up here.
I think they need a fucking barn burner of a 6-man tag match with another faction a la the Shield. I know they're going up against the Chad Gable's faction,
Yeah.
but remember the Shield and the Wyatts had that 6-man.
Everybody went mad first.
But they should still be plowing through people though as well. Like they should be up again and they just win it like fucking like that. Like no offense whatsoever.
In that
from their
debut
side.
in itself, like you're looking around going, is that Braun Strowman? Is that who are all these people that are attacking? And the great thing about in my opinion, Kevin Owens' debut on the main roster is that he was feuding with John Cena, and back in NXT he was feuding with Finn, he was feuding with Sammy, I think he had a feud with Kenta and Alex Riley. So he had all these different feuds going on, which is what I think the Wyatt Six should be. Instead of just focusing on one target,
different subplots.
Cause havoc. You have the numbers there. Nikki Cross doesn't need to be focusing on Chad Gable. Nikki Cross could be fucking with Rhea Ripley or fucking with Liv and the Judgment Day for going on their friends, you know?
The Judgment Day is a great one because like the whole thing with the Wyatt Six seems to be, you betrayed your family.
Yeah.
You know, we saw what happened to Rhea and Damian Priest.
I hate the name the Terror Twins.
Yeah, I agree.
They just need something to rhyme.
No, if they show up in OTT, I won't be too angry.
But they're right there is a little subplot that you can send now. Like let Bo deal with Chad.
Yeah.
Let the other two the other lads.
That's what Attitude Era was all about. Was like you'd have Austin, Rock, Triple, whatever the main eventers, Mankind. They'd all be sprinkled around the show, and it would all accumulate into some. Maybe it might just be the New Age Outlaws against Mankind and Rock or whatever it was. But it was all progressing everybody's storylines, and everyone improved.
That's
and then,
what Vince Russo, he said he made a point of going, whether you're a headliner or whether you're a mid, you're going to have a fucking story.
Yeah.
And I always thought it'd be great to segment your roster into, right, these are my lower card, mid card, whatever, and have a dedicated writer and going, right, you have 15 minutes and you have this group of wrestlers because they're lower cards. Whatever you're going to do in that 15 minutes, spread amongst the show, start pitching me ideas for the likes of Akira Tozawa and what they're going to do on the show and blah, blah, blah. I think WWE is doing that a lot better.
Definitely
Everyone seems
better.
to have a lot more of a purpose. During Vince's reign, you're just like, what the this guy shows up, then he doesn't fucking show up for 6 weeks and you can't get invested in anybody.
Yeah. Or the segment ends and you know you're not going to see that guy for the rest of the show because it's Vince booking it. While if you can sprinkle it around always, that's where the magic is in wrestling, I think.
Yeah.
But it was like the Attitude Era in that way because like you knew everybody on the roster. They mightn't have been on every week, but you knew who they were.
When Road Dogg comes out, you're fucking chanting along to what Road Dogg says.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you kind of go through that kind of 2000s, 2010s even, there's a lot of people on their roster that we still don't know.
Even world champions, you're like, what, Jack Swagger? What?
Yeah.
The Attitude, it had its
Berto Del
problems.
Rio, what? I can't remember
it did
any of this.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Did
because you'd have
absolutely,
fucking run-ins in every match. There was no clean finishes.
The wrestling in itself wasn't great.
The wrestling wasn't great, and production was off at times.
Yeah.
So look,
Part of the term.
Damn, I'm very tempted to go back to top of AEW again. Let's move on.
It's just lingering there, like. Argh.
But the main event scene, I think, has never been healthier. You have all these people that have the potential. I think they're going back to the well too much when you have Randy Orton and Kevin Owens as your recent main eventers, whereas you could start pushing other people. But when they did that with Solo, people shit on it at SummerSlam. When they did it with AJ Styles and Logan Paul for Cody, people are like, Cody's reign sucks. I was like, Cody's reign to me, he's put on banger matches.
Yeah.
The one thing with kind of WWE fans, okay, is it's the same for every champion. Like, biggest example, Seth Rollins. That 2019 when everyone was like, Seth was the like best Intercontinental champion, everyone was like, he needs to be in that Universal title reign, like ASAP, slip him in there. Gets there. All right, so who's taking the next from Seth? When's that happening?
Yeah.
Do you know, one thing I find with WWE fans is they're not invested for the long term. You know, I loved every moment of the Bloodline storyline. Every moment was brilliant. The 3 whatever years it was. Whereas Whereas people kind of dipped out and like, it's the same. It wasn't. The best thing with Roman Reigns was every match was a banger. Every match was a
I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
I stand by
there's
that.
debate there,
I find
yeah.
there's so in Roman Reigns matches so many times there's a 10-minute segment where nothing happens except he's just talking. It's like a soap opera. And it didn't do it for me.
I initially didn't like his matches with Jay. You know, the Hell in a Cell
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah.
There was a lot of talking in that, and then he goes on and he feuds with Kevin Owens, and they have that last man standing match, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting behind this now. And I did. I started to really get, but I think Sammy just ignited it all.
Yeah,
See,
Sammy's walk really got me into it.
I think you guys are just shitting on the matches because you're not Usi today.
Don't agree
You're not
because
Usi.
well, yeah, that's fair enough. But,
I'm
but
definitely
even
not Usi. I will say that I'm not Usi. Proudly.
But he's an interesting guy, Jay. Sorry, Cameron.
you're good.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, even that Royal Rumble match against Kevin Owens, like, he was down on the floor there for 30 seconds, like.
Yeah.
Do you know, kind of way. There's stuff hidden in these matches to kind of keep him on the title. I know what happens everywhere. like,
and I'm not saying you need action like all the time, but I just found the Reigns matches would just
Yeah.
they'd be like 40 minutes long and maybe 10 minutes action.
I think it's a problem with maybe the scene in itself is that us as fans are like, he's not going to lose now. He's not. Cody's not going to lose to fucking Logan Paul in Saudi Arabia. Roman isn't going to lose to fucking. Remember that year? Like, we were all, when he bet Cody, we were all waiting for him to fight Cody again in a year's time at WrestleMania. So you knew, like, he's not fucking losing this. Whatever matches that he's in, he's not losing. The only doubt that you had was with Sammy and Roman.
Yeah.
That was the only doubt. And then you're like,
That was the thread. That was what was constantly weaving through all the other Roman matches was that Sammy is
And then you-
slowly.
At that moment, that was the bigger story than
Yeah, it
Roman and
was,
Cody.
yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
and then you have Cody, and you're like, right, Cody's winning, and they subverted expectations. But for a year, you're like, well,
Yeah.
but they kind of subverted our expectations with The Rock. Then that was
they
fucking.
they fucked up there.
They fucked up, but it was still a nuts time to be a fan watching.
They fucked
it.
up. Will is nodding.
Would agree.
I would say there was 4 times I thought Roman's going to lose the title. The first was with Owens. I think it was like the TLC match. It was like early on. I would say I actually thought they were going to go with Cesaro. But Sammy, 100%. I was watching the pay per view like, oh my god, are they really going to pull the trigger on Sami Zayn? Jay at SummerSlam, I thought that might have been it because I thought, okay, we're just reverting back around to Jay, and Jay stepped down his own.
He started it.
And then what happened, and that became a thing of itself. And then we got to Cody, and like, I did think I didn't watch last year's WrestleMania live. I worked like next day, and I was there. I wake up to Cody being champ. I was like, what the fuck?
I have a story. I watched that WrestleMania live, but this is when I drank, so I was shit faced. Didn't know the result. Apparently, I was snapping. And then I had to watch it back the next day, and I was equally as angry.
You got to watch it twice.
Yeah, I got to watch it twice. I went through a fucking phase where I was like shit-faced watching every WWE pay-per-view. Thank fuck I don't drink anymore. Yeah. And thank fuck they're on at normal times because you have France and you have Germany. And
Yeah, which is a big bonus for us.
I think that they should keep to that. Have your SummerSlams and stuff kind of within America itself. Obviously,
bring Ireland if you want.
Yeah, obviously the odd time bring it over to
Ireland.
I was really hoping we were going to get War Games. I know there was kind of talks about that for
I think
a
we
while.
might get a Clash at the Castle.
I reckon
We'll definitely get a Clash at the Castle.
we might get an announcement at the anniversary show.
What? Do you think?
Yeah. Especially with the two boys coming over.
Carmo
Where are you getting this inside information? Where are they getting this?
Look, that's what I do.
But I think all sub pay-per-views should be outside of the US because, like, I said this even in 2019.
In your houses.
Yeah.
Because
in your country.
I mean, you see with AEW as well, but the audience they've saturated every market, and the fans are not as into it anymore.
But WWE have pulled back on live events now as well.
Yeah,
Did you
for
see
the
that?
same reason.
Yeah.
For the same reason. So, like, bringing it out makes so much sense.
I mean, they were saying years ago, even when Vince was in charge, like, house shows are not what they used to be.
They're not making
X
money.
amount of years ago. Vince was just like, "Rrr." But even like they're now they're next to selling out house like live shows. They're not even Raw or SmackDown. They're house shows, and they're next to selling out. So, but I was saying this, even back then, that the American fans, they've seen this for years.
Yeah.
It's so like, oh yeah, there's this, and oh yeah, all right.
It's not appreciated. Whereas,
Whereas you bring it
we
over
don't
here,
get it
where
all the time.
holy shit, you see him just jump outside the ring there. Oh my
They've
god,
got TV cameras.
my god almighty,
Yeah.
this production.
Yeah.
Do you're going mad for it, especially the big,
La la la. La la la.
the biggest examples. Like I still think the French crowd were the best crowd, hands
Phenomenal.
down.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Le phenomenal.
Are you French?
Yeah, twice.
So bring all those like the bad bloods and stuff, out and maybe give us a WrestleMania or something. But keep your big pay-per-views in America for a bit.
Are they doing right then by? I'm going to call it a secondary championship. I probably shouldn't because Gunter is awesome. Are they doing right by the undisputed heavyweight universal championship?
I think both belts are equally as important. I really do.
Only since Roman lost it.
I even thought when Roman held it was. I'm sorry, when Roman held it, I thought was the most important.
But for Cody's story, where you if he had gone with Seth Rollins, you'd be like,
it wouldn't have worked.
No, it wouldn't have worked. It would not have worked.
But if it was the main title back in the day when they were on equal footing, it would have worked.
I don't think so, and the only reason being because of Dusty.
Yeah,
because Dusty held I know he held the world heavyweight, like the WCW world heavyweight or the NWA world heavyweight, but I think it had to be like the WWE title for him to sit.
I think so.
Fair enough. But are they doing right by that? The secondary titles, which Gunther had an amazing run at.
I think the Intercontinental and US are in a good place. Obviously, we see where LA Knight goes with the title. Just he just won it now.
But the fact that he won it and people treated it as a big deal, shows
Yeah.
how far the title has come.
I thought Logan Paul was an alright champion. Obviously, we didn't get matches like crazy, but just the fact I think we all hated.
Obviously, we didn't get
Logan.
matches.
Yeah,
but like
I think the fact that everyone just hated him that much, and that he's someone I do not like. Logan Paul, but I can respect what he does
with Prime
in the ring. Don't tell me. We should have brought a load of bottles of Prime here, but
T from CBL. Thanks, bud.
Parachute.
But he's really kind of just slipped in. And I don't know if you guys watched the Hulk Hogan impulsive thing. Was just the stupidest thing. Let me tell you, brother, you should be out there doing that bloodline stuff. And Triple H is a fool for not putting
where
more
Logan?
time.
That's where Logan did.
Just shut up. What you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
Was that when Logan didn't know what a work was or a shoot?
Yeah, he didn't know what a work was or shoot was. I think it was.
Hogan's like, are you working me right now, brother?
Tag team titles need
massive.
Massive, but it is good that they were off the two people who initially won them with A-Town Down Under.
Don't you disrespect my boys.
Do you like
A-Town Down? Austin Theory, Grayson Waller. I love the as a tag team. They're all right, but the two of them singles, I've loved Grayson Waller and Austin Theory for ages.
This is what I'm dealing with, lads.
Yeah, just loads.
What is wrong with Grayson Waller? Like, what's wrong with Grayson Waller? Even Austin
I don't mind
Theory.
Grayson Waller.
His gear. His fucking gear.
Do you know what's actually hilarious?
I hate the way his move has to start from outside the ring.
I hate that as well. Yeah.
The running, hop through the road.
Yeah. This is a cool move. It's just fucking. It ain't coming from out of nowhere.
Yeah. And then the world tag. I don't know what the world. What do you think of the world tag title design? I don't hate it.
It's terrible.
But
It's disgraceful. It's disgusting.
Compared to the tag title.
Who are the champs? Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. My only thing about those titles is we saw a promo there recently on Raw where Sami Zayn was saying it to Jey Uso about going for the tag team titles. Now Jey Uso is with Damien Priest and Sami Zayn's going after Gunther for the world title.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
just
Sami
kinda
Zayn comes
changed
up
out of
to me and
nowhere.
Sami says, "Here, look, I'm going to go for the tag titles." And then Damien Priest has got Rhea Ripley there. Which way am I going?
You ain't seen.
Do you think do we get a world tag team title change at 10-year anniversary OTC?
We can only hope, like, but
Social release.
it has to be
boys.
socially.
Do you think they're the next WWE world
Imagine Guinness showing up on Raw or something. Oh my God.
would be hilarious.
What if the Judgment Day win the OTT tag team titles?
That'd be cool.
That'd be good. They need to come back again.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Force them
Or they
to
could just
play,
lose it the next night like Danhausen did.
Yeah.
Or like Be Cool did.
Or like Be Cool did. Yeah. WWE versus AEW. By the sounds of it, we love WWE and fucking AEW sucks ass.
That's what it seems. Yeah,
That's what it
definitely the way
seems.
it
Like, we have to talk about Punk though. Like we have to get back into Punk. Have you enjoyed him with Drew?
Bits of it.
Like the fact the man was injured for 8 months and that feud was as hot as it was. And we're still not at the crescendo of it. We're still not at the
I
peak of it.
think it's great.
Here's what you were talking about, like subplots, because like we know that Drew and Punk is going on, but we all know Seth is over here.
Yeah.
Do you know? So we know that there's that subplot with Seth Rollins involved. I loved him being the referee at SummerSlam. I
So
thought
did I.
that was brilliant, great. I don't. People were like, "Oh, I put a referee." It makes fucking sense storyline wise.
Yeah.
Obviously, I love them like kind of writing him off with Bronson Reed. We'll see where that kind of goes. But just the fact that we know we have this great rivalry with Drew and Punk, and at the end of it, Seth Rollins is there.
Yeah.
It's just it's what keeps you excited.
And Seth is coming back and he has a thing with Bronson now as well, too. And
So-
Bronson's off with Braun, But Braun's after been in some fucking match there recently, and Bronson's like, why wasn't I in that match? So Bronson could go after. Like, there's
subplots. That's all you need.
Happening. Like, if you imagine the amount of hot storylines going on in WWE right now and compare it to anything else.
Yeah.
It's insane. They're so hot right now. It's crazy.
But
And it's interchangeable for Sammy and say Damian Priest.
Yeah.
Because they have that like a history with Jay. Jay has the history with Rhea. He's going after Rhea. So to help, Rhea wants to go after Dom. So Jay's like, yeah, I'll go after Dom for you. Oh, I'll do it with Sammy, who I used to get on with. Actually, no, I'll do it with Damien now. And there's like this whole fucking ecosystem.
Yeah, it's mad.
Subplots. It's all you need in wrestling, because this way people can kind of dip in and out of storylines. You know,
Exactly.
like,
and it means that when something finishes, you got something
something on the
straight to
back
bring in.
end,
Yeah.
But I think it's like one of the first times in a long time where we've had a lot of big names, or like a lot of people at the top of the list that can compete for world titles, compete in all these stories.
Well,
Whereas, like, you always had your John Cena's, your Randy Orton's, and it was kind of the same 3 or 4 people at every show. Do you know, the kind of way? So it's good to have that back now, where you could have anybody main event the show.
Remember Orton and Cena, which just never fucking ended. Just
And
went
Triple
on
H,
for
Cena.
ever.
Triple H, Orton, the same thing.
Oh God! So as a booker, are you happy with Triple H? Has he made many mistakes in your opinion? Like, does
me, no.
anybody give a fuck about the Final Testament?
that's a whole different.
Do you know what? Their match against Bobby Lashley's group was still good at WrestleMania.
Yeah, Ricochet never came out the better of it.
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley arguably got like
He's gone now.
he got booked down. You know.
That's the only negative I would say about this is some of the guys who are gone now. When Omos goes, couldn't care. Omos was Omos. But MVP, Bobby Lashley, Ricochet. Ricochet, who was the Speed champion. I actually do enjoy Speed, by the way. But to make Ricochet,
All right.
yeah, I actually enjoy it.
All right.
What a fucking
But-
mark.
Yeah. No, he just
Speed,
Speed.
yeah.
Yeah.
fucking hell.
And that, yeah, you know,
You know what, he's talking so fast.
but Ricochet being the champion there and doing absolutely nothing. I mean, I know he had the Braun Breaker thing, but like, did that really need
The Logan Paul thing.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, but like
That was kind of a spot fest.
the Brock Lesnar thing was fucking.
That was. You're going to send you to Saudi for a big title match. Oh, by the way, we're squashing you.
Yeah, like very bad. I was excited. I was like, how's Lesnar going to work with Ricochet? Do you know that there was an Irish wrestler called Rick O'Shea before Ricochet?
I don't know that.
Yeah,
I know
Rage-
Ricochet's name on Twitter is Rick O'Shea.
Is it?
Yeah.
Raging Rick O'Shea used to be with Angry Andy Barton in IWW.
Someone needs to find him and tell him that you need to sue.
He does all the woolshed stuff. Your Leggett, he has
Oh,
Pod
yeah,
180.
yeah.
He was his wrestling name was Rick O'Shea.
This is sue.
Yeah, sue the fucker.
Make some money. But even like Bobby Lashley, he has like let some massive stars go. Like Bobby Lashley's a huge name to let go, especially like going out. I don't feel like his name value was put down.
Yeah.
So if he shows up somewhere else, he's still like, oh shit, there's Bobby Lashley. You know, I feel like he could have kept him. I was actually looking forward to seeing where this Street Profit stuff goes, but it just went nowhere.
I'd love Bobby Lashley to show up in New Japan. Because MVP had that run in New Japan as well. He goes into New Japan. New Japan are in desperate need of new stars. Like, desperate
Yeah.
need.
Yeah,
Like, they
since
have the
Ospreay
War
left,
Dogs,
yeah.
which is the most interesting thing about New Japan now. But, like, other than that, I know Zack Sabre won the G1. He's probably going to be the next big guy, but they need stars.
Yeah.
Do.
New Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, New Japan are in.
Even just for Forbidden Door to be anyway.
Our boy Dan Maloney, fingers crossed.
Yeah, driller.
Yeah.
The one, I think like the nail in the coffin this year for them was losing Ospreay. Because even I was watching New Japan up until that, and the cage match happened, brilliant cage match as well. And I haven't actually watched it in ages.
So also all their Japanese stars are really old.
Tanahashi, Naito just can't go anymore.
Yeah, they're like they've all been doing it for 25 years. Like,
And even losing Okada as well is a big loss.
Yeah. So,
I know we don't want to get into his booking.
Yeah. Back to AEW. No. Fuck AEW. No, look, I really want AEW to do well. It seems like they're turning the corner. That was an all-timer angle, burning down Swerve's house.
Deadly. And a photo of Hangman outside is
Yeah.
fucking goals.
It's Attitude Era-esque. WWE, there's not too much wrong in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, what I'd say is I'm holding. I know he breaks my heart all the time. Tony can't.
you need to
but
let go.
I feel I'm holding out hope again. My heart has been broken, but I've mended it over the last 12 months, and I'm ready to be brought back.
I think he needs to let
And
some
after
people
watching
go.
All Out and All In, I think
Well, not actually letting go, but like
no, utilize them in just make Ring of Honor its own thing.
invest. If you're not going to use like
Power plant.
invest in them. Stop having.
God, power plant.
Stop trying to fit
We need a power plant.
Stop trying to fit everybody onto a card with 8-mans and all that. And if you're not going to like invest in them properly, just don't use them.
Could they build their own? Like, could they do a developmental thing where you don't see people, like say NXT, people will just come in.
Ring of Honor.
You'd have to make it.
But it's not really. You know, they're just not doing it that way.
No, they're not like-
and they're still picking people up from the indie scene, but they're not actually training them.
Do anything,
Yeah.
you know? Like they have. Thing is,
Where you could get like a Lesnar or a Cena or an Orton or a Batista or whatever.
look what WWE was able to do with 3 shows. We'll say before, like with NXT and everything. Tony Khan has 4 shows. And he books near enough the same people every show, except for Ring of Honor. He barely books anyone for that. What he needs to do is make Ring of Honor needs to be these are new, younger stars who aren't exactly TV ready. Let's throw them down there.
Yeah.
What Ring of Honor was.
Yeah, make its own thing.
It was, but now it's gone to.
Yeah.
But
that's where you got the likes of
And those people are not allowed on other AEW TV at any cost.
No,
Yeah,
100%. And take away those the trios, take away everything. They're never to be seen. The only show I'd be like, okay, use them for is maybe like a Rampage or something, a secondary show.
They're not allowed on anything. Banned.
But like Collision, like Dynamite, I would say Dynamite and Collision at this point because Rampage seems to have taken a separate rosters.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have the champion coming between both.
Yeah, champions
I,
only. I, like
I
that.
don't mind that at all, but you need separate rosters. And they kind of did have that a year ago when himself was in charge. But that kind of just dwindled away.
Also,
Just give us the book, Tony. We'll book Ring of Honor for you, man.
Well, he does
Give me a
need-
book.
he does
That's all
need-
I want to do. Just want to book a wrestling promotion.
a big part of it is the fact that he is booking 4 shows. He is dealing with Fulham FC and the Jaguars as well. Like, no human being is capable of putting in all of your best work into all those things at the same
Give it
time,
to someone
let
who's done
alone
it.
Tony.
show.
That's what it was the point I was going to make earlier. Like if you look at Vince through WWE, like Pat Patterson, Jim Cornette, those kind of guys,
Jared.
Vince Russo, all involved in the backstage. He had those people to tell him, no, this is a bad idea.
Well,
yes, this
he
is
had a lot of
idea.
yes men as
Yeah,
well.
I know that
Freddie
too. I know that
Prinze
too.
Jr.
Freddie, God bless him.
Haid Vanson, represent. We always remember you, Haid. Anyone else remember Haid?
No idea.
I don't think I know yet.
He showed up on like Raw or SmackDown for like a week. He was going to be Undertaker's next opponent. Came from
Oh, that guy! He's like they do all the vignettes and shit.
yeah, and then they were
yeah.
like, "This guy's tiny," and then he left the wrestling business. Paul Burchill, I remember you. I love you.
Paul Burchill.
Yeah.
And Katie
Another
Burchill.
character. I'm like, oh yeah,
Katie Burchill.
Katie Burchill,
Katie, yeah.
and the whole
Brother and
incest
sister.
thing.
Yeah.
Nice one, Vince. Thanks for that. You turned a fucking monster into an
what
incestual beast.
what would you have preferred? Them doing it or the actual original plan for Vince to be involved in the storyline with this?
Vince.
Oh God!
Because I would have just loved Burchill. You didn't have to be a pirate, Vince. He was a fucking monster. He was a monster. His move was the C4. It was a standing Spanish fly. The man was a beast. He was huge. You fuck Burchill. Just like AEW was fucking Wardlow.
No, you
Yeah.
let me for it. You fucking not to me.
Fucking right. Look, I need to end this podcast. WWE versus AEW. Carmo, I'm going to ask you. Which one do you prefer now?
I've been WWE since I started watching, so that's always what I'm going to be.
WWE Stan. Fucking Martin.
OTT.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, that's a good answer.
So WWE because they're
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
over.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bring over Finn. You got promoted the whole Finn Balor coming over and Jordan. Sorry, Jordan.
You're looking at me for it.
So what the fuck? I just asked them the question.
I'm.
You need to don't be devil's advocate. Don't be a fucking
And
Sean
just
O'Hare on
know,
this.
if you say AEW, we're gonna hate you, but they're gonna love you.
If you ask me to watch an entire Raw or an entire Dynamite tomorrow, and it had to be just a random one picked from the last 5 years, I would choose a Dynamite.
That's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah.
But that's because it's shorter.
But
I'd be that way for pay-per-views as well. I'd watch a WWE over an AEW.
I'd say I'd probably if I'm just looking at YouTube clips, I'll watch WWE stuff right now more than AEW. But I think WWE is just after riding they have a lot of work to keep the momentum going, and wrestling is all about getting hot, and you'll go cool and you'll heat up again. I think I have a lot of hope for AEW right now.
And I'm picking TNA. Thanks very much. No, I'm going with WWE. And that's strange for me because I grew
It's not
up...
strange for you shitting AEW all the time.
I grew up looking at the alternative. I grew up looking at WCW more than WWF.
So you didn't have the channel, Shane.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, well, I did. My dad just wouldn't let me watch it. But I did have the wrestling channel, and I could have watched it when TNA was on. Right. But no, I preferred TNA, and then I preferred NXT. But I really like Triple H's style of booking right now. Everybody's getting a shot. Everybody's getting a chance.
Before you end it, what do you think of the NXT that's going on right now?
I've gone off to NXT altogether.
No, this is the perfect time now, especially with like Joe Hendry and stuff coming in.
Do you believe in him?
I believe in Joe Hendry.
I'm not sure if I do. That's the start of the episode, Matthew.
No, shut up! Thank you very much for listening to the Wrestle Fan and Wrestling Show. I've been the big Beefy boy, Shaz Beef. This has been Ciaran Dunphy. Ooh, do you want it? Yeah. These have been a couple of marks from the 5 Marks podcast. Go check them out on the social media platforms. We're going to be on with them talking wrestling very, very soon.
That.
Yeah, could you imagine? Thanks very much for listening. Like, subscribe, do all that shit. The tens of people that watch. Thank you.